Hi, this is Corey Johnston, and today's lesson is going to come from the second epistle of John. This is one of the three which bear his name, and the second and third are a single chapter in length. The first is 5 chapters in length, and the second epistle is the shortest book in the New Testament in the entire Bible, as measured by the range of the number of verses. There are 13 verses in this short, which is short for a chapter, let alone a book, just under the 14 of the one which comes after it. And the first epistle of John is classified as a general epistle, meaning that it was written to no one in particular. It has a general application for all Christians anywhere at any time. But in the opening verse, we do read that there is a recipient identified for this letter, and it is a broad to interpretation. Some people interpret it as an individual, others as a collective. We do know that there are both individuals and groups that John addresses, even though our English words translated as your, for instance, in verse 10, verse 4 and verse 10 can be interpreted as a plural. In the Greek original, they do denote an individual. So the opening verse of the only chapter in this book reads, "The elder, to a chosen curia and her children, whom I love in truth, and not only I, but also all those who have known the truth." Now, the elder would have been unidentified by name, perhaps because the presence of identifying the intended recipient of this could conceivably or potentially put them in danger. But the chosen lady, curia, it's most frequently translated as lady, can be interpreted as an individual or to the wider church. And her children would have been those to belong to her. And John frequently combines love and truth, and I've done 2 separate discourses. You can type in Corey Johnston truth in the writings of John, and I also did one on light. I misspoke. I haven't done one on love, at least not yet, but that may be a future objective. And the love in the truth, love is to be combined with truth. We are not only to speak the truth, but how. We are told how to in Ephesians 4:15. We are to speak the truth in love, and love without truth, it's been said, is hypocrisy, whereas truth without love is brutality. So it's not enough for us to speak the truth. How we do it is equally, if not more important. And the ones who know the truth, they have an instant and permanent fellowship which expands across continents and times. This fellowship is not only international but interhistorical. Because of the truth which stays in us and shall be with us forever. The truth is eternal by nature. It cannot change. It always is what it is. There's no aspect of mutability or impermanence about it. 2 plus 2 will always be 4 until the end of time and beyond. So there is a truth personified in John's writing, as we'll soon read, as a person, Yahshua Messiah. And when we abide in him and he abides in us, then his power and presence dwells in us, and we may accomplish mighty things that we could not do so on our own independent initiative. Grace, compassion, peace be with you from Yahweh the Father and from the Master Yahshua the Messiah, the Son of the Father, in truth and love. So he's extending standard blessings, grace, mercy, peace, etc., in truth and love from the Father and the Son. Now the dual divinity of such is commented perhaps more extensively by John than any gospel author. John 10:30 immediately springs to mind. I and the Father are one, but this ought not to be interpreted to the extreme, which suggests that they are in the same being. It only means they are equal in essence. I rejoice greatly because I found some of your children walking in truth, as we received a command from the Father. So this is one of the ones where your is denoted to an individual. It's indistinct in the English language, but he is addressing that we can plausibly infer that this is the elder, the unnamed elder, the anonymous elder to whom this epistle is directed, that some of their children, some of their flocks, some of their followings were walking in the truth and living by it, preaching it, and practicing what they preach, and to live and proclaim the truth is a divine commandment, one we cannot neglect but must heed. We are to be proclaimers of truth in a lost and fallen and perverse and dark generation. And now I ask you, Curia, not as though I wrote a fresh command to you, but that which we have had from the beginning, that we love one another. So this commandment was nothing new. It would have been familiar to everyone who's ever read the Old Testament. Love thy neighbor as thyself in Leviticus 19:18. But the truth does become new in emphasis and example by the writing of the New Testament. Yahshua Messiah is the literal embodiment and personification of truth. In him the fullness of the truth dwells. And this is a command which we are commanded to emulate in whatever ways we can in all our interactions, and we cannot divorce our treatment of God from that of our neighbor. We have to, if we do, we become estranged. And this is love, that we walk according to his commandments. This is the command, that as you have heard from the beginning, you should walk in it. So the obedience is tied to love in John's writings, specifically in 14:15 and 15:14. He says that the surest, most infallible, demonstrable proof that we do in fact love him is to obey him, and obedience often tests the steel and metal and love of us all, because he'll ask us to do things we're not uncomfortable to do, but when we trust him, we will love him and do it without fear, because we know that he's behind it, he's authorizing us, and it's for a wiser and greater purpose, perhaps beyond our immediate ability to intuit, but we have his assurance that it will all work out in the end, and we are committed in a cause greater than our immediate comfort or exigencies. Because many who are leading astray went out into the world, who do not confess Yahshua Messiah as coming in the flesh, this one is he who is leading astray and the anti-Messiah. So the presence, in fact, of the rapid spread of early Christianity made the infiltration of deceivers, false prophets, false teachers, and heretics a common dilemma in virtually every church. So this is not unique to John's situation, and he did minister in the city of Ephesus, but many of the Pauline and the other epistles testify to the fact and the reality of the presence and the problem that the false teachers were wrecking into the assembly, and the details can be found in those. But in this specific passage, we read that the anti-Messiah is plural. Now, the singular, the capital letter anti-Messiah is the end times dictator, the satanically endowed man who will conquer the earth as a peacemaker and then reveal his true nature after a 3.5 year period of peace. But the plural is anyone who denies the incarnation. Now, there was the presence of Docetists or proto-Gnostics around this time. Gnosticism would not articulate into a systematically coherent heresy until the 2nd century, but their embryonic predecessors were nothing new from the beginning. They combined the Neoplatonic philosophy that stipulated that all matter was inherently evil and all spirit was inherently good. Ergo, the Messiah could not have been inhabited the flesh, because flesh is evil. And the Greeks had a degraded estimation of the human body. They regarded it as a prison to be liberated from, and their eternal homeland, whereas we are promised the resurrected bodies in perfect form, of which much of it is mysterious, but we do know it is beyond our wildest expectations, and this is what is communicated in 1 John 3:2. See to yourself that we do not lose what we worked for, but that we might receive a complete reward. There is nothing more frustrating than putting time, effort, energy, and resources into a cause or a project only to have it squandered or be left incomplete, and we have to maintain the momentum of the energy which prompted the effort in order to make sure that it not only gets billed, but last, and we will receive the complete reward for the fruit of our efforts. Everyone who is transgressing and not staying in the teachings of Messiah does not possess Elohim. The one who stays in the teaching of Messiah possesses both the Father and the Son. So to have anything we belong to belongs to us. So when we belong to Elohim, no devil can steal our dreams. And when we belong to him, he belongs to us. He is his power and presence can guide us and direct us, but it's all contingent on maintaining faithfully and obediently the teachings we have received, which came from the Messiah. He was the literal form of God in human flesh, and anyone who maintains the faith and the teachings in spite of all the odds, in spite of all the obstacles of which we have no reason or right to expect there will not be many, will be able to claim both the Father and the Son, the Father who sent him and the Son who came. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, do not receive him into your house, nor greet him. Now, hospitality is a basic Christian virtue, and it's but not necessarily limited to Christians alone, but we are called to exercise discriminatory discernment on extending hospitality to those who are homewreckers, and the institutional church would not come about until the 3rd century AD with Constantine's mass conversion of the Roman Empire. Prior to then, what it was referred to as the assembly would have met in individuals' homes, and these false teachers and heretics were not only wreaking havocs in the assemblies, the homes which were designated for these groups of worship in specific locations, but also wielding their destructive influences inside the houses of many others. So the germ of their heresy was spread to those who had listened to them and taken them seriously. And as the family goes, so goes the nation, and so goes the church. The family is a microcosm, which is a reflection of a wider macrocosm. For he who greets him shares in his wicked works. So this is a sin of commission, because when we allow sin to proliferate, and if we associate ourselves with the world and its sins and the worldly sinners, then we are in fact accepting and condoning and tolerating them, but we are to keep ourselves at deliberate remove. In other words, our influence should predominate over them, over that which their influence predominates over us. Now, certainly there is to be some contact in the world. We are not called to live in isolation from the world, but separate from it. And we must also seize the opportunity to reach out to ministries to evangelize those who need it most, and that is the lost and fallen generation of the world in every age. Having much to write you, I do not want to do so with paper and ink, but I expect you to come to you and speak face to face, so that our joy might be complete. Now, the teaching or instruction through epistles was a novel Christian invention, and necessity was the mother of invention, or innovation in this case, because the early Christian church spread rapidly beyond any one geographical terrain. So that necessitated the teachings or imparting of instructions via letter, because Paul could not be at every, or any of the other apostles for that matter, could not be at more than one location at any one given time. So there was a written teaching and a spoken. So they did make time and make themselves available and present for these men, but when they couldn't, they were demonstrating that they were not far from their concerns or their hearts or their affections by reaching out to them via letter. the children of your chosen sister greet you. Amen. There's not really much to comment or elaborate on that. That is a self-evident statement of hospitality to whom it is owed. We are to greet those who share in the faith and share in the mission and share in the works, because we're all in this together, and the bonds between us is what will ultimately prevail over the forces which are aligned against us, of which there is no shortage of. The same in the first century ancient Roman Empire as it is true in America or anywhere else in the world today. So we're all in this together. That being said, I'm glad you're here. I hope you're getting something out of these lessons, and I hope to see you soon. Until that time, take care. Bye-bye.